Okay, so let's proceed with our intended learning outcomes for this afternoon, or module number 3. Okay, so at the end of this module, you should have and be able to do the following. No? Number 1, understand the structure and syntax of functions in Python, and then describe the different modules and packages. Number 3, demonstrate the use of different modules and packages. And finally, develop a program applying modules and packages. So basically, the topic that that we will discuss today is about the function, or how to create functions in Python. Okay, so let us first define what a function is. No, so a function, actually, a function is a group of related statements. They are statements and performs a specific task. So that's basically the definition of the term function. Okay, and functions helps us to break our program into smaller and modular chunks. No, so if you want your program to be compact and become modular, we use functions to do that. No, because when the program is growing larger and larger, functions make it more organized and makes it more manageable. Okay, so that's some of the advantages of using functions in Python, no? And in also in other programming language. Okay, additionally, functions avoid repetitions, no? And we can make the code reusable by just calling the appropriate function. And the syntax, here's the syntax of a function. So this is an example of a syntax of a function. We use the def and then the function name. So we have a function name, and then we put inside the open and close parentheses the so-called parameters. Okay, and then after that, actually we use a colon for the appropriate code. No, so once you enter this one, you press enter, it will automatically indent. Okay, and then followed by the statements. So yan, this is the syntax of a function. Okay, so you can see from the function, okay, the syntax of the function, the keyword def marks the start of the function header. No, so this is the function header, and the keyword def, actually the definition of this is define. No, define a function. So we use def to mark the start of the function header, and then it is followed by a function name. The idea behind creating a function name is to uniquely identify the function. No? So in other words, like a typical variable that we are creating, variable makes a variable unique. No, the variable name makes a variable unique, as well as a function. No, it uniquely identifies the function, and then it follows by the same rule of writing identifiers. For example, we cannot create a function name starting with a numeric. No, so that basically is wrong. No, however, we can use underscore for a function name. Okay, so you have to learn, and I think in your programming 1, you already learn how to write identifiers or names, how to write names or variables, constants, no, how to use the conventional style of creating names. Now the parameters here that you see, okay, actually this is what we call the arguments, no. So we put arguments inside these parameters through which we pass the values to our function. So if this is the function, these are what we call the arguments to the function, and they are actually optional, no. So it's either you have this or not, okay. So basically it will depend on the function. Now the colon here, it marks the end of the function header, okay. So definitely if this is the function header, we start it with the def and we end it with a colon, okay. Now actually in a function there is a what we call an optional documentation string, no. We call it a doc string, no? A doc string, no? And a doc string, so one word only, it describes what the function does, no. So basically doc string actually describes what the function does. Para tong yung pinaka-comment natin when we are writing a function. For example, you can create a function that multiplies a number to another number. Yeah, something like that. But that is only optional, no? It's either you remove this, or either you create this, or you just leave it like that, no, without the optional documentation string. Okay? Now, one or more valid Python statements will follow, okay? And it makes up what we call the function body, no? The body of the function. And statements, so I put here, it can be a statement, it can be a statement, or with S, meaning lots of statement here, okay? Now there is also what we call an optional return, no? Return statement. This is a return statement, okay, that returns a value from the function, but it is also an option, no? Whether your function, the function that you created, you did not include a return statement or anything, no. It's up to you, no? So let's try to have I will not run this because it will create an error because of the you can see when I run this one, actually it runs, no. So there are no syntax error here, okay. Let's have an example of a function here, no. For example, let's try to have an example that greets a person's name, no. So we call it define greet function, no. And then we put inside this the parameter, we call it name, for example, okay. So let's try to put, of course we don't forget the colon, okay. Let's try to put here a document string. So let's say the document string, this function greets to the person passed in as a parameter. So that will be our document string, no? So, and then inside that function, let's say we print something, no? Like for example, we print hello, no? Say hello, and then comma, and then after that we put the parameter here inside, no? Plus the name, okay, plus we put something also here, okay. So we put of course we need to put something here, no, like a a period, for example, no? And then we put here good afternoon. Okay, so that will be the function. So when we try to enter this, okay, when we try to enter this, this doesn't return anything yet, no? So as you can see, nothing has happened, or there is no output, because this is only a function. However, how do we call a function, no? So we already defined the function here, and then of course when we define the function, we can call it from another function or another program, or sometimes we can also call it even from the Python prompt, no? And then to call a function, we simply type let's say let's call the function greet. Okay, so how do we call the function? It's simply just type the name of the function, which is greet, okay, and then just put inside the parameter of the name of the person that you would like to greet, for example Jonathan. Okay, so when I enter this one, it will print hello Jonathan, because of this, because basically this is the statement in the body of the function that should be returned, okay, once we call the function. So let's try to run this. So as you can see, hello Jonathan, good afternoon. Okay, so you can try this now while you are watching. You can also follow, okay, you can also follow, so that you will know the output of the program, no? And then of course you need to be very careful and watch the syntaxes that you are typing, because it will sometimes create problems, no, or errors once you miss something in your in your program. Now basically we can also put this one, no, we can also put this one here, no, like for example when I copy this one and put it here, and below I can write this function that calls it, no, and then basically it will also print hello Jonathan, good afternoon. Okay, so it's either two lines that you created, or two cells, or one cell, no, is enough to be able to run this, no. Now the doc string that you see here, it's this is the first string, no, after the function header. You see here the doc string, no, and this is what we call the documentation string, no, and actually it's briefly used to explain what a function does, no. Although it's optional, documentation is a good programming exercise or practice, no. So when you try to program, you create this document string, and it's a good practice actually, no, unless you can remember what you had for dinner last night, no. Always document your code. And in this example, we have a doc string immediately below the function header, and we generally use triple quote so that doc string can extend up to multiple lines, no. Actually when we use the doc string, we can actually type multiple lines, no, and something like that, and it's basically doesn't have an error on it, because the string, this string is available to us as the document attribute of the function. So if we want to print, for example, if you want to print the document attribute of the function, you can call underscore doc and then underscore, no. Of course you need to put the name of the function, greet dot underscore doc and then underscore again, no? So this function actually greets to the person passed in as a parameter. Yun yung magiging ano natin, no? Yun yung makikita natin. Whatever we write here, yun yung magiging output nito. So let's see. Okay, so ayan, wala daw siyang attribute na ano na okay, mali ito. double underscore pala to, sorry. Double underscore. Yan. So you see, so whatever we write here in our document string, when we try to print the documentation attribute function, attribute of the function, of the greet function, so when we write it, we will see it here, no? But actually, if we don't put something here, no, let's say we remove this one and try to execute it and then print it again, so wala kayong makikita rito. None nakalagay dyan, basically. Okay? So basically, sometimes it's necessary, it's only optional, but if you want to know the documentation of your function, you can print the documentation using double underscore. Remember, it's double underscore doc double underscore, and then you put the function name here. Okay? Now let's proceed with discussing about the return statement. No? In our function here, we did not include a return statement. However, a return statement is actually let's put it here. No? Let's put it here as a markdown. No? So return statement. It's right here. Return statement. So a return statement, this is used to exit a function and go back to the place from where it is called. Okay, so that's the return statement, no? So let's put something here. Okay, let's put it as a markdown, and let's try to execute it. So basically, a return statement is used to exit a function, no? Kapag meron tayong return statement, it exits a function, and then it goes back to the place from where it is called, no? Or where it was called, no? And the syntax, basically the syntax of a return statement is the return, and then we have here the expression, no? Expression. So we can have an expression list, for example. So this statement can contain an expression that gets evaluated, okay, and the value is returned. Now if there is no expression in the statement, or the return statement itself is not present inside a function, then the function will return the non-object. Now kung hindi tayo naglagay ng return, it will return the non-object. For example, no, let's try to have an example of this. Of course, there is no may syntax error tayo dito, no? So that's why dapat hindi natin siya ni-run, no? Because of there is nothing outside, there is no return outside the function. Okay? So let's try to have, for example, when we try to print, di ba may function na tayo dito sa taas na ginawa, no? Itong greet na to. Okay? So when we try to print, for example, greet, and inside that we put the name of the person that we're greeting, for example, Jonathan. Okay, let's say John. Okay? So it will tell us, okay, it will tell us, hello John, good afternoon, di ba? Dapat ganon. But along with that, we will see that there is nothing to be returned, no? Here, you can see here none, because there is no return function, no? So you can see from here, none is the return value since greet, no? Itong greet function na ginawa natin here, okay, directly prints the name and no return statement is used. So you can see naman from here, there is no return statement is used, no? Okay? Okay, let's try to create now an example of a function with return. Okay? So say we create a function, okay? Absolute value, no? We call it absolute value, and we put a number inside, no? So the document string that we will put, okay, let's try to have this function returns the absolute value of the entered number. So whenever we enter a number, so this is wrong spelling. So whenever we enter a number, okay, whenever we enter a number, the absolute value of the number will be returned. Okay, so let's try to have that. So for the function, we can put expressions inside. So for example, if the number is more than or equal to 0, okay, so that will be the if statement inside. So we will return num. We will return the number, okay. So basically, when it is more than or equal to 0, that's a positive number. So all we have to do is just to return the number, okay. But if or else, maybe we can use the else function here, okay. So else, it will return, that means any number that is less than 0, that's a negative number, right? So we put the negative of that number. So if it is -1, we use the negative num as our return, so definitely that will become 1, okay? Okay? So that will become our our function. So how do we call this? So we call it by let's say the absolute value of 2, okay, and then below we will print an example of a negative number, no? So when you press tab, you will see some selection here, no, para hindi na kayo mag-type ng no. It will eliminate some time, no, it will minimize some time typing everything, no. So you can select from here what function, because you already created that function. So makikita nyo. So let's say -5, okay. So when they try to return the function, okay, and we try to call the function here and put a number, a positive number and a negative number, what will be the result, no? So let's see. So as you can see, we have returned the absolute value of the numbers that we have placed here. Even if we put the 2 here, or even if we put a negative number here, it will return the absolute number of the number that was given. Okay. Now let's talk about the scope and lifetime of variables. No, the scope of a variable is the portion of a program where the variable is recognized. So meaning, when you declare a variable in a program, it has boundaries, no? So parameters and variables defined inside the function that are not visible from outside the function, no? So we call that local variable, and in some terms we call it local scope. Okay? Now, the lifetime of a variable is the period which the variable exits in the memory, no? Kapag ka hindi na siya available, it exits in the memory. And the lifetime of variables inside the function is as long as the function execute. So nakita nyo rito, nag-declare tayo ng variable dito na num, but it is inside the function. Okay? Meaning, this variable is only available as long as the function is executing. What happens when we already return the function, no? When we return the function, okay, the function does not remember the value of a variable from its previous call, no? So for example, tawagin natin yung num dito, no? Let's print, for example, let's print num para makita nyo, no? So let's try to execute this. You see that the num here is not defined, no? Meaning, this num, although dineclare natin siya sa loob ng function, hindi na siya nare-recognize. Kasi nag-return na ng value yung function natin, kinol na natin siya, and hindi nyo na nakikita yung value. Okay? Now, to illustrate the scope of a variable inside the function, let's have an example here. Okay, so define, so let's say the name of the function is my function. Okay, and we will not put anything inside the parameter. Okay, and then let's say we declare a variable x is equal to 25, for example. Okay, and then we print the value inside the function. Okay, and then we call on that variable, which is x. Okay, so this is our function. Now, outside the function, because we are now using the body of the function extends only when it is indented, no? When you release it from the indentation, it becomes outside the function. So itong itatype ko rito na x is equal to 30, for example, no? This is another variable, no? This variable is inside the function, and this variable, although they are equal, no? They have the same name, I mean, okay? But you can see the I made sure that the contents of the function inside and the function outside, the variable's content outside the function will be different, no? And then after that, let's call my function. Okay, let's call my function, and then I will also print the value, say value outside the function. Okay, so let's try to and of course let's try to put something here, no? We call on the variable x. Okay, so let's try to run this one so that you can see the difference between the value that is declared inside the function and the variable that is declared outside the function. Okay, you can see that the value inside the function is 25. This is 1, no? So we call on the x variable, which is inside the function, and then the value outside the function is 30, because we declared x is equal to 30 outside the function. And definitely when we call the function here in line number 6, this will be printed, no? And this one will print the output typically like this, no? So we can see that the value of x is initially the value is 30, right? Even though the function myfunc changed the value, we changed the value to 25, it did not affect the value outside the function. This is because the variable x inside the function is different, or we call it local to the function, from the one that is outside, no? Although they have the same names, as I have said, they are two different variables with different scopes. On the other hand, variables outside of the function are visible from inside. Okay, they have a global scope, so we can read these values from inside the function but cannot change them, no? In order to modify the value of variables outside the function, they must be declared as global variables using the keyword global. Okay, so right here I'm going to write, we have basically we can divide the functions into the following two types, no? So let's write here types of functions. So the first one is the built-in functions. So these functions are, we call it built-in to Python, no? These are the functions that are built in to Python, no? And then we have what we call user defined functions, no? It's like C language, no? C language has a built-in function, and it also has a user defined function defined by the programmer itself, no? This is defined by the users or programmers. Okay, So these are the types of functions. So let's try to put something here, and let's enter, so that you will have a notebook. Later on, I'm going to upload this notebook para magkaroon kayo ng guide. Okay? Now, let's try to understand how we can, earlier I introduced you to this one, no? The parameters, or we call it the arguments, no? So we call it Python function arguments, no? In Python, actually you can define a function that takes variable numbers of arguments, no? And here at this point, I'm going to define a function using default, and then using keywords, and finally I'm going to demonstrate how to create a function with arguments that we call it arbitrary arguments. Okay, so we're focusing now in the user defined function topic, no? In the user defined function topic, in the user defined function topic, we learned about defining a function and calling it now. Okay, because if we don't call it, the function call will result in an error. Okay, so remember the function that we created, yung define greet, no? Actually we can improve the function, so let's try to copy that. So I can improve this. We can put additional, say, I'm going to write something here first as a markdown. So we're talking about arguments, no? Yung arguments na yan yung parameters that we pass into our function. Okay? Okay, as I have said, in the user defined function topic, no, we learned about defining the function and calling it. Okay, this time I'm going to add, this is the example that we have created. Okay, I'm going to add, no, aside from the name, I will put additional parameter here, no? So maybe I can put a message, no, aside from the but this time I'm going to delete the message here, no, which is good afternoon. So let's try to delete that. So hello, and then the name. Okay, hello name, no, we do not put the so we just put hello name. Okay, so let's put the comma over here. Hello name. Okay, and then after that we put a comma over here, and then we put here the message. Okay, we call on the message. So this is the body of the function. This function actually, we will now try to, since we have two parameters here, no, we are not only passing the name of the person, no, but actually we will also include in the parameter. Okay, so this function now greets to the person. Okay, it greets to the person that with the provided message. So that will be now our documentation string. So because we change it, no, so instead now of putting just Jonathan here, so we can add a message, for example, your we cannot write that, no, so let's say you are awesome, for example, no, so that will be your greeting, for example, no, it's your message. All right, so when we try to output this one, so we will see that the message here was passed, no, the message in the argument was passed using the string that we placed here. Okay, so the function greet has two parameters now, no, the name and the message. Now, since we have called this function with 2 arguments, it runs smoothly and we do not get any error. You know why? Because we put the name and the message here correctly. Now, if we call it with a different number of arguments, no? For example, let's try to copy this. Okay. Let's say, for example, okay, let's not copy it. Let's just say greet another person, no? Let's say John. Here, when we try to call the function greet, we only put 1 parameter, but it accepts actually 2 parameters, right? Ang hinihintay niya, when you use the function, 2 parameter ang ilalagay natin. However, here, I only put 1, no? So, what will happen if we run this? So, it will say, the greet function is missing 1 required positional argument, which is message. Okay? So, when we put something here, okay, so basically it has an error, no? What about if we, for example, if we fail to put something inside, no? So ano mangyayari? So let's try, no? Now it says here that now we are missing 2 required positional arguments, no? And definitely sinabi niya kung anong kulang mo. So you should include the name parameter and the message parameter. All right? Now, we also have what we call a variable function argument, no? And up until now, functions had a fixed number of arguments, no? As you can see from here, it has a fixed number of argument. Okay? What if pwede ba tayong gumawa ng function that has variable number of arguments? Okay? So 3 different forms of this type are as follows, no? For example, we can use, I'm gonna put it here, we can use a Python default arguments. So in a Python default arguments, function arguments can have default values, okay, in Python, no? So we can provide a default value to an argument by using the assignment operator equals. Okay? So in our example, di ba ito, copyahin na lang natin to. So let's not use any other function, no? In this example, so we have a message here. So we can equate the message here. For example, you are wonderful. Yeah, you are wonderful. This will be the content, no? Using the equal sign, okay? Using the equal sign, we can provide a default value. So that means every time that we call this function, okay? Even though isa lang yung nilagay natin dito, let's say isa lang, no? So let's remove that. Isa lang yung nilagay natin parameter, it will actually output like this, no? Oh, hello Jonathan, you are wonderful. Okay? Because we have placed here a default argument. Okay? So even if for example I write here Jonathan, and then I put here how do you do. Okay? So these are the parameters that I pass on the function greet. So what will happen? So you see here, although we have a default message, since you put here another message, no, it is accepted by the Python compiler. Okay? So that means if you want a different message rather than the default, you can place the message here and the default value. Okay? So the default value that you can see from here, it's not mandatory, no? So in this function, the name, no, this name does not have a default value. and it is required, meaning when you call the function, it is required, no? Just like what I've placed here. Even though I also use here Jonathan, this means this value is a required or mandatory during a call, no? Every time you call a function, the name, since it doesn't have a default value, it is mandatory. Okay? On the other hand, you see the message here, no? It has a default value, which is you are wonderful, no? So it's optional during a call, no? So even if you do not put a message, it will say you are wonderful because this is the default, no? Now if a value is provided, like in this case, no, I provided a value, okay? So what will happen if we provide a value? It will overwrite, no, the default value. Kumbaga, hindi niya na ito papansinin, ito na yung magiging message natin. So, any number of arguments in a function can have a default value. But once we have a default argument, all the arguments to its right must also have default values. Okay? So, sir, paano pagka nabaligtad ko, no? For example, let's try to use this again. And instead of the binaligtad natin to, no? Can we put it like this? Message, and then on the other side we put the name. Okay? So pwede ba 'yan? Pwede naman 'yan. Kaya lang when you call that, okay? When you try to execute that, nakalagay diyan, it says non-default argument follows a default argument. So this one is wrong, no? So dapat before you create something here, no? You create something, a default value, it should follow an argument, okay? A non-default argument. So baligtad to. So ito mali. Okay? So this is an error. Okay? So ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na that non-default arguments cannot follow default arguments. Okay? So basically, nagkaroon tayo ng message. So kahit na gumawa ka ng ganitong function, dapat unahin mo yung non-default bago yung default message. So lagay natin to sa inyong notebook that non-default arguments cannot follow default arguments. Like this one, this is a non-default. It cannot follow a default argument. Okay? So basically baligtad siya kasi binaligtad ko siya. Kaya nagkaroon tayo ng error. Okay? Now another aside from that, we have what we call Python keyword arguments. No? So let's try to write it here. Python keyword arguments. So for the Python keyword arguments, when we call a function with some values, these values get assigned to the arguments according to their position. No? For example, in the above function, no, this function, okay, when we call it as, for example, greet Jonathan, how do you do? Okay, the value Jonathan gets assigned to this argument. Okay, and similarly, how do you do? Okay, for example, how do you do? It gets assigned to the argument message. So Python allows functions to be called using keyword arguments. So when we call functions in this way, the order, position of the arguments cannot be changed, no? Hindi mo pwedeng baguhin 'yan. Okay? We cannot do that, no? So for example, let's say greet and then the name, for example, is equal to let's say Vic. Okay? and then we call it a message is equal to how do you do, for example, no? What will happen? So when we run this, hello Vic, how do you do? So it's okay, no? So this means that we have two keyword arguments here, no? We have two keywords arguments here. Okay? But what happens when we do it the wrong way, no? For example, I type here, but this time I'm gonna put this one here, no? Halimbawa, nabaligtad natin. Okay? What will happen? So, hello Vic, how do you do? Yung pa rin ang magiging ano natin. So, although binaligtad ko na siya because we provided the sequence of the sequence or the order of the call of the position of the arguments, we cannot change it, no? We cannot change it. Oh. Okay, we can also do that something like this, no? For example, John, okay, John, and then let's put a message here. Howdy. Ayan. So what will be the output? So ayan, the same pa rin, no? The same pa rin. So although this one, this is what we call the a one positional and a one keyword argument, no? We have a keyword argument here. As we can see, we can mix positional arguments with keyword arguments during a function call. But we must keep in mind that keyword arguments must follow positional arguments. Okay? Now, having a positional argument after keyword arguments will result in errors. Okay? It will create an error. For example, so this is an error. Okay, so let's say greet, let's say name is equal to Ben, okay, and then say the next positional argument will be how do you do. Okay, this will create an error because this one is a is a default value. Okay, positioning, no? So this will have a positional argument which follows a keyword argument. So yun error natin, no? Okay, finally we have the third type is what we call the Python arbitrary. Let's put it here. We call it the Python arbitrary argument. Okay, in a Python arbitrary argument, we do not know in advance the number of arguments that will be passed into a function. So remember here, naka-declare sa function natin, dalawa ang argument natin. Okay, dalawa. Okay? Dalawa yung function natin. Dito, no? Dito sa function natin na to. However, there are cases that Python allows us to handle the number of arguments that will be passed into a function, no? And we call it arbitrary number of arguments. So in the function definition, so let's say, let's copy this again, this function. So this is the correct function, and let's put it here. Okay, so in the function, instead of writing, for example, di ba dalawa to, name and message. So instead of just one name, for example, we can assign an asterisk, okay, inside the parameter, no? So before the parameter is the name, okay? It denotes the asterisk denotes this kind of argument, no? Wherein si Python na yung bahala kung ilan ng example, no? Kung ilan yung example. So definitely this function greets actually not only to the person, greets all the person, okay, in the names. In the names tuple, no? In the names tuple. So let's say this function, so we will create another statement here for name in so let's say this one is names, no? For name in names, so this is a for loop. It will loop on this, and let's say it will print, okay, hello, and then the name. Okay, so definitely yan. So this time, kahit ilan yung ilan yung values na nilagay natin dito, let's say Jonathan, Ben, okay, wait lang, and then say Peter, and then Jordan, and something like that, no? So the output of this will be similar to this, no? Hello Jonathan, hello Ben, hello Peter, hello Jordan. So because of the use of the asterisk. So this asterisk before the parameter name denotes the argument, no? That we can now pass what we call arbitrary number of arguments. So no matter how many we have here as an argument, no, we can put as many as we want, no, depending on the list that we have provided. So here actually we have called the function with multiple arguments, no? Multiple to, apat di ba? And these arguments get wrapped up into a tuple before being passed into the function, inside the function. So we use a for loop to retrieve all the arguments back. Okay, so moving on. So let's try to continue with our discussion. So now we will have another concept in Python functions. Okay, so let's try to have another topic, which is Python recursion. Okay, so this is another topic. So what is a Python recursion? Okay, actually the term recursion, it is the process of defining something, okay, in terms of itself. So that means you are creating a function that calls itself, no? A physical world example would be to place two parallel mirrors facing each other, and any object in between them would be reflected recursively. Okay, so in Python, actually we know that a function can call other functions. Okay, it is even possible for the function to call itself, and these types of construct are termed as recursive function. Okay, so maybe we can create an example here of a recursive function so that you will have an idea. Okay, this is an example of a recursive function. So let's try to create a function called factorial, and then we put an argument here, x. Okay, so that you will understand this function, this is a function, okay, or this is what we call a recursive. This is a recursive function to find the factorial of an integer. So we'll put an integer here inside the argument, and basically it will return the factorial of that integer. Okay, so if x is equal to 1, okay, it will return 1. Okay, else it will return the formula for our factorial, which is x multiplied the factorial, okay, of x minus 1. So you can see here from the function that we have created, okay, so basically this is an example of a recursive function, no, to find the factorial of an integer. And just a simple quick review, the factorial of a number is the product of all the integers from 1 to that number, no? For example, the factorial of 6, no? In this example, I will write here the factorial of 6, okay, so denoted as 6 factorial, di ba? Ganyan yung ano natin, yung term natin, is equal to actually 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 and then times 5 until times 6, and this one is equal to around 720. So this is the result of the factorial, no, when we do it in the calculator. Let's say we have a number here equals to 3, no, so 3 factorial, no, so we will print the factorial of let's say the number, okay, is so let's put a space here, or
Sir, wala pong mic.
oh, wala pa mic, sorry, forgot to turn on the mic.
You are now
microphone.
unmuted.
Okay, let me just repeat na lang siguro, because walang mic kanina. So as I am telling, the next topic that we will cover is about Python recursion, no. Thank you doon sa nag-comment, no, kasi hindi ko nakikita kayo talaga eh. Anyway, I am focusing on the notebook. So a Python is a recursion is a process of defining something in terms of itself, no. A physical world example of this would be, for example, when you put a mirror, two mirrors, no, parallel mirrors facing each other, any object in between them would be reflected recursively. So that's the term recursive, no. So that means in function or in Python, we can call a function, we can create a function that calls itself, okay. Like in this example, this is an example of a recursive function. We define the name of the function as the factorial, no. I gave an example here that the factorial of 6 is equal to 1 times 2, 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 times 6, which is equal to 720. So this is the content, the body of the function that we created. That it says here that if x is equal to 1, we will return 1, no? That means kapag ang in-input natin ay 1, let's say for example, it will return 1 because the factorial of 1 is 1. Okay? Else, if the number is not equal to 1, say 2, 3, 4, etc., etc., it will return, okay, actually may mali tayo dito, it should be small letter x only, okay, it will be the x, okay, multiplied to the factorial of x minus 1, okay, so that will be, for example, nag-input tayo ng 3 here, so that will be 3 multiplied by the factorial of 2, okay, and then magre-recurse to magre-recurse, it will call itself, and then the output of this will actually be the factorial of the number, okay. So let's say the factorial of the number is factorial num. So paulit-ulit nating kinocall yung function that we have created, no. So we put the factorial here, this is the function, we call the function by itself, no, as we place it here. So the factorial of 3, for example, is 6. So for example, another example, the factorial of 2, for example, the num, let's say, let's put a number, num here, num is equal to 2, that will be equal to 2. No? The factorial of 2 is 2 because 2 times 1 is equal to 2. And if we put num, for example, is equal to 6, and then we call that, okay, so that will become 720. Okay, so this example, okay, for the factorial is a recursive function because it calls itself. Okay, so when we call this function with a positive integer, it will recursively call itself by decreasing the number. Okay, yung x minus 1 natin. And each function multiplies the number with the factorial of the number, no? Until it is equal to 1. And this recursive call can be explained, okay, depending on the variable that the content or the integer that we have placed here. Okay, so the question is, when does the recursion ends? Okay, so the recursion ends when the number reduces to 1. So this one here that I place here in the program, no, this one, if x is equal to 1, this is what we call the base condition. So every recursive function must have a base condition that stops the recursion, or else the function will call itself infinitely, right? So the Python interpreter limits the depth of recursion to help avoid infinite recursions, no, resulting in stack overflow. By default, the maximum depth of recursion is 1000. No? If the limit is crossed, it will result into recursion error. Okay, so for example, let's define, this is an example of an error, huh? Define recursor. Let's say you have a function like that, no, and then we call the function by itself. So we did not put anything here, no, and then after that we call again outside the function. Okay, so paulit-ulit yan tatawagin yan. What will happen? So it will actually, it will have an error, no, called recursion error. This is an error, no, actually. So because there is no base condition, no, so definitely pag gumawa tayo ng recursive function, we have to make sure that we create it na meron tayong base condition, no, similar to this one. Okay, now the advantages of recursion is that it makes the code look clean and elegant. Okay, number 2, a complex task can be broken down into simpler sub-problems using recursion, no? And then sequence generation is very easy with recursion, no, than using some nested iteration. However, there are also some problems in recursion, no? Sometimes the logic behind recursion is hard to follow. And sometimes recursive calls are expensive, no, as they take up a lot of memory and time, no. As you can see before this one display here, it took time, no, bago niya nasabi na may error, no, kasi una niran niya muna yung nasa labas na function. Now when it calls the function, niran niya rin to, no, ito yung pangalawang run niya, and then bumalik lang siya dito, paulit-ulit lang siya dito sa loob. So the maximum recursion depth exceeded. So that will be the recursion error that we have. Okay, so in case that you have some questions, you can use your microphone, huh? Okay, now in Python we also have what we called anonymous function, no? So let's try to have it like this. We have also what we call anonymous function. So there are lots of many function in ano no, in Python, no. We call it anonymous function, or we call it the lambda function. Okay? And this type of function is a function that is defined without a name. Kaya nga ang tawag sa kanya anonymous, because they are defined without a name. Okay? It is defined, no? While normal functions are defined using the def keyword in Python, anonymous functions are defined using the lambda keyword. Okay? Hence, anonymous functions are also called lambda function. Now, how do we use lambda functions in Python? Okay? The syntax, this is the syntax of a lambda function, is this one, no? For example, we have the lambda. We write the lambda. Okay, as you can see, it turns into green, meaning this is a keyword, no? And then we put the arguments here, and then it's just one line, no? And then we put the expression. Okay, this is the keyword, no? As you can see, it returned the function name for the lambda and the arguments that were written here, no? So lambda functions can have any number of arguments but only one expression, no? Isang expression lang. So we can combine the expressions, no? We can combine expressions. As you can see from here, we can combine expression. Okay? And the expression is evaluated and returned, no? And lambda functions can be used wherever function objects are required, no? Let's try to have some example here of a lambda function. So let's say this is a program, okay, to show the use of let's not write it, no? Anyway, let's say for example we have double and then is equal to lambda x. So we use the colon. This is the argument, no? The argument is x, and then we use the column, and then the expression follows. X is equal to multiplied by 2. So basically, it's the same as defining a function, no, that doubles, no? For example, define double, and then we put x here, and then it says return. What we will return here is x multiplied by 2. This is basically the same as this, no? But using the lambda function, we can actually create it similar to this one. Okay? So ito at saka to parehas lang. Okay? So let's try to delete this one. Okay? And then when we print, for example, when we give it a call, no, when we try to call that, so we call the name of the variable that we have declared, and then we put the 5 here. So basically it will double, no? It's equal to 10, because the double means it's multiplied by 2, no? So you can see from the program, the lambda, no, this one, lambda x colon x multiplied by 2 is the lambda function, and x is the argument, no, as I have mentioned, and x multiplied by 2 is the expression that gets evaluated and returned, no? And this function has no name, no? Actually walang name, no? So you can see from here, wala siyang pangalan. It's an anonymous function, okay? But we can now call it as normal function. Okay? So as I have said, it's basically the same like define double x and then return x multiplied by 2. Now, how do we use lambda function in Python? Now, we can use actually lambda functions when we require a nameless function for a short period of time, no? In Python, we use it as an argument to a higher order function, and a function that takes in other functions as arguments. Also, lambda functions are used along with built-in functions like filter, map, etc., no? So you will understand that when you try to read more information about Python, no? Example, no? For example, the filter, okay, the filter function in Python, for example, no, has an argument, no, is a function and a list of argument. You have a list, no, for Python, no, basically, and the function, okay, so the function is called with all the items in the list. For example, I'm going to give you an example of this one, no? So this one is a function. For example, I have a list here. Okay, so let's try to have some notes here so that you will understand this one. Program to filter out, no, the even even numbers, for example. So I have a list here, okay, and my list is equal to 1, and then I have 5, and then I have 4, then I have 6, 8, 11, 3, 12, 16. Yan. That's my list, okay? Now, I have a new list here. I've created a new list. But this time, my new list, I'm going to create a lambda, no? I will use the list, okay? And I'm going, this is a list function, no? This is a list function, actually. And inside this, I'm going to use the filter function, no? The filter function. And inside that function, I will write a lambda or anonymous function called lambda x is, for example, if how do we know that it is a an even number? Yung common natin, no? If x modulo 2, and then there is the answer of that is equal to 0, then definitely that will be our that will be the case, no? And then we put the name of the list here, no, my list. So if we print now my list, okay, if we print my list here, it will tell us this is my new list now. Okay, there's a syntax error here, sorry for that, no, but I need to put something here, no. So where did I go wrong? Let me write it. Okay, wait lang. So tama naman yung filter ko. Ito ang partner nito, filter. So saan ang mali natin dito? List and then filter, and then ginamit ko yung lambda x colon, okay, x modulo 2 equals to 0. Okay, tama naman siya. Ito, ang partner nito ay ito. Ang partner nito ay ito. Saan ang mali ko dito? Okay, here. The name of the variable, sorry. I'm not focused on the arrow here, no. So ito yung tamang answer niya. So this is now my list, no, my list. Okay, but actually it is still printing. It's still printing the actually we have actually it should filter out only the even items, no. It will filter the even items, no. And what are my even items? But unfortunately, the function is not working properly because dapat ang matitira lang dito yung mga even, no, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 16. Okay? Okay. I will print now my new list. Okay? So before after this, I'm going to print my new list. Okay? So what is now my new list? This is now my new list, no? It has filtered out the even numbers. Alright? So this is an example of a lambda that can be used inside a function like typically like this, no? Okay. This is by using the command filter, and of course we use the function list here, no? These are built-in functions in Python, no? The list function and the filter function. Another example, okay? Let's try to have a program to double each item, no? Let's try to double each item, no? Double the item in a list. Okay? So let's say the list is this one. So let's have this. Let's try to reuse this line. Okay? And now I have a new list. Okay? My new list now is containing the list. Okay? And then after that, I'm going to use the map function. Okay? The map function. And then inside that, I will put my lambda function, no? Of x, which is equal to x multiplied by 2. Okay? And inside that, I'm going to put my list. Okay? So is this okay now? So I hope there is no missing one. Ito ang partner nito ay ito. So let's see kung may error siya. So there is an error here. Okay? I thought so. No, there's an error here. Map. So my error here is in. So we have a list here, a map, and a lambda. Okay? Okay, where is my missing? Oh, I think dito ang ano niya ng problema. So I think I need to put another okay, I think I need to remove this one, no? And put this one here. Okay, so this is my new list. So I try to print my list and my new list. You will see now the comparison. Okay? That this is my original list and this is the list, my new list, which in this case I use lambda to double any item, okay, any number that is in the list. No? So you can see this is an example of map function. Okay? Any questions so far? Are there any questions?
Sir?
Yes.
Gagana pa rin po ba yan pag tinanggal yung map?
Pag tinanggal yung map,
Yung lambda lang na iwan.
let's try to remove the lambda here. Tingnan natin kung gagana siya. Hindi siya gagana. Okay? So sabi niya list expected at most one argument but got two.
Okay. Okay,
So
sir.
we have to put the map function here. Okay? Para gumana siya. Okay? Other questions? Other questions? Okay, let's proceed. If there are no more questions, let's proceed to the next topic, which is we will understand about global variables, no? So kanina I mentioned about putting a variable inside the function, no? We call it local variable, no? Local to the function. Okay? So what is a variable that is declared outside the function? We call it the global variable. So definitely we can write that the global variable is a variable, okay, or variables declared outside of the function, or we call it global scope. Okay, so yun yung tawag natin sa global variables, and this means when we have a global variable, it can be accessed inside or outside the function. Okay, let's have an example of that, no? For example, we have a variable here, no? And the variable is called global. Okay? And then let's try to define a function, no? Let's have a func. inside this we print, let's try to print something inside, no? So x inside x. Okay, so we have here a variable declared inside and a variable declared outside. Alright, so when we call the function, okay, so it will print the function, no, inside it is x, and when we print, for example, the x outside, and then we call the variable which is x, no, so what will be the output of this one? So it will say x inside the global, okay, and x outside is global also. Okay, so x inside is equal to global and x outside is equal also to global. Okay, here we created x as a global variable, no? This one, no, is a global variable, and defined a function. We defined a function to print the global variable x, and finally we call the function again, which will print the value of x. And what is the value of x? Global. Okay, now what if you want to change the value inside a function? Let's copy this one, okay, and let's try to change the value of the function inside. Now let's say we have here x is equal to x multiplied by 2, okay, and then let's just print the x, no, okay, and then we call the function. So what will happen now? You can see here that there is what we call an unbound local error, no? A local variable x is referenced before the assignment. Okay, that means ano na tayo, the output that you see here gives us an error because Python actually Python treats x as a local variable, no? It is a local variable actually. Okay? And x is also not defined inside the function, no? So to make this work, we use the global keyword, no? We use the global keyword. Now, if you want to know more about it, you can search in Google the Python global keyword, no, to be able to learn more about it. Okay? Now, another thing aside from the global variables, we also have what we call the local variables. So local variables, these are variables declared inside the function. It's declared in a function's body, okay, or in the local scope, no, known as the local variable. Okay, so example of this, for example, we have defined a function here also, and then we defined a variable here called y, and this is what we call a local variable, no? So if we try to call the function, okay, or if we want to print y, so basically the output will be an error, no, because y is not defined. Actually, y is not defined. So it's an error because we are trying to access a local variable. Ito, pinakita ko na sa inyo kanina to, di ba? We are trying to access a local variable in a global scope, whereas the local variable only works inside the function. Okay? Or local scope. So, may error. Pero pag tatanggalin natin to, so let's try to copy, Pag tatanggalin natin yan, itong ano na to, itong print y na to, it will print properly. dapat it should have printed the function. It should have printed ano let's say for example inside, let's say print y. Yan, kulang pala tayo. Okay, so it will now print local, so that will be the case. So tama siya, no? But if you want to print y here, may error nga tayo, no? Kasi y is not defined. If we try to remove this, it will now print local because y is equal to local. Definitely nag-run siya, pero nang makita ni Python na you're trying to print something, no? Nakaturo siya rito. You're trying to print y, you're looking for a variable that a local variable that is created, no? Okay, so that will be the case. Okay. Now, how do we use global variables and local variables in the same code? Okay, let's try to have an example of using global and local variables in the same code, no? So we use global and local in the same code. So let's try to define a variable here. So global, okay, and let's define a function. So the function be define function, and then we have a global x here, okay, but okay, that's and then we declare another variable here called y, which is local. Okay, and then let's say x will be equal to x multiplied by 2, and then we try to print x, and then we try to print y. These are all part of the function. Okay, these are all part of the function. So when we call the function here, okay, so what will be the output of this one? Okay, so you will see that the output will be global because this one, no? Okay, so binasa niya, okay, we can see from here, and just for a while, okay, we can see from the example, we declare x as a global, no? Okay, here we declared x as global and y as a local variable in the function that we have created. Then we use multiplication operator here to modify the global variable x. Okay, and we print both x and y. Now after calling the function, now when we call the function here, the value of x becomes global because we use x times 2 to print 2 times the global, and after that we print the value of local variable y, which is equal to local. Okay, this one, no? Okay, now let's have another example of a global variable and local variable with the same name. Okay, say this is an example of global variable and local variable with same name. Can we do that? Well, let's say for example x is equal to 5. Okay, and then define a function here. Okay, and then x now inside that is equal to 10. So parehas ng name, right? And then we print the local x, no? Local x means x is equal to 10, right? And then after that we call that function. We call that function, and then we print now the global variable, which is equal to 5. Okay, so global x is equal to x. So what will be the output? So local x is equal to 10 and global x is equal to, let's put a colon here. Okay, so when it's outputted, medyo maayos tingnan. Okay, So you can see here, we use the same name x, no, for both global variable and local variable, and we get a different result when we print the same variable because the variable is declared in both scopes, no. For example, the local scope inside the function and the global scope outside the function. So when we print the variable inside the function, it outputs local x 10, okay, and this is called the local scope of the variable. Similarly, when we print the variable outside the function, it outputs global x colon 5, and this is what we call now the global scope of the variable. Okay, now we also have what we call non-local variables. Non-local, it's a one word only, non-local variables. What are non-local variables? Non-local variables are used in nested function, no? These are used in nested functions whose local scope is not defined. Okay? So this means that the variable can be neither in the local nor the global scope. Okay, so let's have some example of this non-local variable. So we can create a non-local variable here. Okay, so let's say, for example, define outer, and then we have x is equal to local because it's inside the function, and then inside the function we define another function, no? So define inner. Okay, so this is what we call a nested function. We have a function here and we have another function inside that. Okay, so this one we declared it as non-local x. So you can see that this non-local is a keyword. Okay, and x is equal to non-local. So we can now print inside that, we can print the inner. Okay, the inner is equal to x, and then we call the function, this is outside the function na, no, but still inside the outer function. Okay, so when we try to decrease the indent, okay, because kapag kasi nandito pa rin tayo, we are still in the inner function, but when we try to decrease the indent, we are now in the outer function, no? So let's call the inner function here, and then, okay, sorry for that, and then after that we print the outer, okay, the outer x. So the outer x is equal to x, and then finally we try to call the outer. So here, no, sagad na yung indent natin, nag-decrease ulit tayo ng indent. Okay, and then we call that. So this means that we have a nested inner function, okay, nested inner function inside this one from lines 5 to 8, okay, and we use the non-local keyword to create a non-local variable. This one, non-local keyword to create a non-local variable x. Now the inner function here is defined in the scope of another function, and that is the outer function. Now if we change the value of non-local variable, that changes appear in the local variable. So what will be the output of this one? So let's try. So the inner is non-local, this one, and the outer is also non-local. Okay? So basically yung pa rin yung yung binabasa niya. Okay? Now let's try to understand now. I mentioned a while ago this non-local is a global, this one is a global keyword, no? This one is a keyword actually, no? But what do we mean by global keyword, no? In Python, global keyword allows you to modify the variable outside of the current scope, no? It's used to create a global variable and make changes to the variable in a local context. And the basic rules for global keyword in Pythons can be, for example, if we want to create a variable inside the function, it's called default, no? It's local by default. Now, if we define a variable outside of a function, it's also global by default. So you don't have to use global keyword. So we use global keyword to read and write a global variable inside the function. And we use global keyword outside the function that has no effect. So let's try to have an example of that. This is an example. Let's take an example, accessing global variable from inside the function. So let's say c is equal to 1. Okay, and then let's try to define a function that add. Okay, and then let's try to print c. Okay, and then let's try to call that add function. Okay, so what will now be the output of this program? So the output will be to print the variable c, right, which is equal to 1. However, we may have some scenarios where we need to modify the global variable from inside the function, no? For example, we can copy this and put it here. Okay, so this time we try to modify the global variable, okay, from inside the function. So that means inside here we'll try to modify the value of c. Okay, let's try to say that we are adding 2, no? We increment c by 2, for example, and then we call it. So what will now be the value of c? So the value of c here, you will see that there is a unbound error, no? So there is a local variable c referenced before the assignment, no? The solution for this, no? What is the solution for this? The solution for this, so let's write here solution, and let's copy the same and then let's try to add a variable here called global. Okay, and then let's try to print the c, but this time we will print here inside, sorry for that, inside add function. Okay, and then we'll call c. Okay, but this time we will also print in main, okay, the value of c. Okay, so this is the solution for this. Now we declare, we run the above program, and we define c as a global keyword inside the add function here, no? So basically the output of this will become inside 3, or inside the function add, our variable will become 1 plus 2, which is equal to 3. And in main also, the c will now become 3. Okay, it changed also, the change here that we created here, okay, the change that we created for the c, okay, also happened on the global variable outside the function. Okay, now I would like to show you another way of showing you how we can actually run global variables across Python modules, no? So do you know how to write modules? So how do we write modules? Now let me show you on how we can write a module by sharing you my whole screen, because right now I'm running a Jupyter notebook. Okay, and right now I would like to create a module using Spider. Okay, this is also a compiler, no? Now this one, I'm going to show you how we can share a global variable across Python modules, no? So we will create different files. Now, we will create the different files. Can you see my module here? Okay, so let's try to delete this. We do not need this one. And I will try to create, let's try to create a new one. Okay, so this one is a new, and then we create a config.py file to store a global variable. No? Say this is our global variable, a is equal to 0 and b will be equal to empty. Okay, and then let's save this. I will save this. Okay, and I will look for CPE009, and then I will create a folder here, module 3 example, and inside that I will save it as config.py. Okay, that will be my config.py, no? Now I will create a new file here, and this time I'm going to access this file, no? I'm going to access this file config by writing import. Okay, let's try to make it this one bigger so that you will see. Okay, and also this one. So this is the content of my config.py, no? In my next file, which I'm going to save as update.py, I will try to change the global variable here, no? I will try to access the file config. Okay, config, and then I will use config.a. This is the first variable, right? So the original variable is 0, but now I'm going to change it as equal to 10. And the config b, this is from the file b. I will try to change. Now this one is not empty. I'm going to write alphabet here. Okay, and then I'm going to save it as another file. I'm going to call it update.py. Yan. Okay, now finally I will create another file. This is my main file, so I'm going to show it to you, and I will try to import both the files, no? Import config and then import the update. Okay, and then I'm going to print here in my main file. I'm going to print config.a, and then I'm going to print also config.b. So what will be the output of this one, no? When we try to run this one, what will be the output? So I'm accessing the config file. Let's try to save this. Okay, config, and let's try to save also. This one is already saved, and let's proceed with this one, no? Let's try to save it as the main. This one is the main.py. Okay, now I'm going to run this one. Okay, so when we run the main.py, what will now be the output? Okay, so let's try to run this. Click this one. You can see here in the console, these are the output, no? Okay, in the config, the file is the variable a is equal to 0 and b is equal to empty. But I use another file to configure by accessing the this is what we call accessing the module, no? When you try to access another file, it's called it becomes a module. The file becomes a module. And actually, you can change, no? How do you change the content of A? You include the name of the file, which is config, and then change whatever it is, and then also the same as for B. Okay? And then in main.py, I tried to print what is now the content of config. Will it be the original 0? And what will be the content of B? Will it be the original empty? It says here that now we already have changed, no? And test the values of the global variables, whether they are changed or not. And basically, they are changed, no? They are changed. Okay? Any question? I hope you can do that, no? It's just because in here in Jupyter Notebook, we cannot do that, eh. We cannot do the the creation of the we can only load the name of the file here, but basically we can do that in other Python compiler. Okay, so another topic that I want to discuss is about global in nested function. Okay, so let's say here global in nested function. Okay, and what about this one? So this one is how we can use a global variable in nested function. No? How do we do that? So let's have an example. No, so our example will be define function. Okay, and x is equal to 20, for example. This is a global and then we have an inner function here. We say function 2. Oh, let's call it differently, no? Okay, function 2. This is function 1 and then function 2. Inside this, we have global x. We declared the global x here. And then x here, the global x here is equal to 25. Okay, and that we print now. We try to print before calling the func2. Okay, what is the content of x? And then we print here, print calling func2 now. Okay, so we are calling it now, so therefore we will try to call it func2. Okay, now after calling, so this is after calling, what will be the content of x? And then outside we call function we call the function, no? We call the function and then print. Let's try to know x. What is x in our main? Okay, and let's call that here. Okay, so let's try to run this one. So before calling the function, it's 20, right? So this is the 20 here. Now calling the function now, no, there should be a function here. There should be something here, no? Oh yeah, it's okay, no? We're trying to call the function here. So you can see that when we declare a global variable inside the nested function, okay, inside the function, inside the func, okay, x has no effect of the global keyword. It has no effect. Now before and after calling the func2, the variable x takes the value of local variable, which is x is equal to 20. Now outside of the function, the variable x will take the value defined in the func2 function, which is equal to 25. This is because we have used global keyword x to create global variable inside the bar function. So we call it local scope. Now if we want to make any changes inside the func2 function, the changes appear also outside the local scope. All right? Okay, so finally, so this will take only a few minutes to discuss this. Let's discuss about our final topic for today, which is the Python modules. No? So here in this particular topic, you will learn to create and import custom modules. No, I already shown you using Jupyter Notebook. Okay, but there are many different techniques to import and use custom and built-in modules in Python. No, so by the way, what are modules first? So modules refer to a file. So let's try to define module here. So these are file containing, so it's a file, no, because we use module only. So it's a file containing Python statements and definitions. So that's a module, no? So for example, a file containing Python code, for example, is example.py, no? It's called a module, no? And its module name would be example. So we use the modules to break down large programs into small, manageable, and organized file. Okay? And it provides reusability of code, for example, no? So right now, I should create an example here, no? Let's try to define, okay, add, and I want to take two arguments here, A and B. Okay, and this program adds two numbers and return the result. So basically, no, so the result is equal to A plus B. So we will return result. So basically that will be the program that we will create, no? So what we will do here, since we cannot run it here, okay, we'll try to lagay ko na lang dito para may guide kayo, ha? Save it as example example.py, no? So copy natin to, tapos we'll go back to Spider, and then let's open a new file, and then paste natin yung program natin, and then let's save it as example.py. Alright? So here we have defined a function which is add inside the module name, no? Now how do we import this? So we can import that. So where did we save it? Can we import it here? Import. I have saved it here actually. I have saved it in my documents. I hope you can see it, no? Yeah, I think you can see it, no, while I'm doing it. So inside the CPE 009 in module 3 example, I have placed it here, no? But my notebook, I'm writing the notebook outside, so I guess I will try to paste my example here outside, no, para mas madali na. So make sure that when you try to import your example.py, okay, it should be located, okay, in the same folder. Okay, so now let's try to import the example.py using the command import example, no? So Python's actually using the module name, we can access the function using the dot operator. Okay? So for example, dot add. Let's try to add 4 and 5.5. So what will be the output? So 9.5. Okay? So we're accessing the module example na sinave natin. Ito yun, 'di ba? Sinave natin doon sa module na yon o sa file na yon. So Python actually has tons of standard modules, no? You can check out the full list of standard modules, no? Search nyo lang sa internet Python standard modules. Yan, search nyo yan sa internet, no? And of course, if you search it, you may want to know their use cases, no, kung paano siya ginagamit. So these files are in the lib directory inside the location where you installed your Python, no? And standard modules can be imported the same way as we import our user-defined modules, no? Like in this case, we have, if you want to use, for example, yung pi, no? Pi, let's say pi dyan. So it has an error nakalagay dyan, no? It has an error. Even if you use, for example, math.py, it will also be an error because of the math. No, to resolve this error, okay, we have to declare an import statement here that we are importing the math module, no? So right now we can print, okay, we can print the value of pi, okay, is, then we can call math.py. Okay? And what is the output? That is the value, no? Kapag ka ito lang, you are not importing the module of the math, sasabihin niya, that's a name error, okay? But if you try to import the module math here, it will give you the correct one, no? So the value of pi is 3.14, 15, 92, and so on and so on, okay? You can also import, okay? This is an example of renaming an import, no? You can use import math as m, for example, no? So definitely when we try to copy this one, so I can use now, instead of writing math, I will use m, and this will also gives us the same result, no? So I renamed the math module as m because this can save us typing time in some cases, no? For example, in data science, there are lots of importing to do, no? For example, you may include importing pandas as pd, import numpy as np, import matplotlib.pyplot as plt, okay, something like that, no? So you will understand that if you take the elective course data science using Python. And also, you can, in Python, we can import specific names, no? We can import specific names. This is an example of importing specific names. For example, import, let's say from the math module, okay, we can import pi. So definitely when we try to print this one, so it will say the value of pi is 3.1416. So here we imported only the pi attribute from the math module, okay, from the math module. Okay, another example, for example, instead of adding pi, let's try to add more math attribute. For example, what is the value of e? Okay, and let's try to print the value of e in math. Okay, the value of e is math.e. Okay, here you can see here, oh, this is the output. So we can also use pi and e to print it, no? E lang yun na print. So we can delete the, this is the pi, this is the e. So but without importing the names, no? But basically pwede nang ganito lang eh, kahit math lang eh, no? Kahit math lang yung in-import natin. Okay? And then print pi and print e. Pwede na yan, no? Pwede na yan. That's basically how we can import, no? Now, if you want, for example, you don't know the name of the module, no? You can import everything, no? This is an example, no? From math, import asterisk. You use the asterisk. That means you don't know the name of the file, no? So you can also use any other files, no? So here we have imported all the definitions from the math module. So lahat ng definitions do sa math module na yon. This includes all names visible in the scope, no, except those beginning with underscore. Okay? So those are some examples, no, on how we can do that. Now in Python we also have what we call, let me show you this one, no. We also have what we call Python module search, no. Sometimes we are searching for a module, no, and while importing a module, actually Python looks at several places, no, and the Python interpreter first looks for a built-in module. Then if the built-in module is not found, the Python looks into a list of directories defined in the sys.path. Okay? So for example, the current directory or the Python path which is located in your environment variable. Now for example, I will show you my environment variable, no, by typing environment and then entering it. This is the environment variables, no. This is my path. If I try to edit that, you will see the path of my Python here, no, and also here. This is the path, edit. You will see the path of my Python, no. I have different Pythons installed here, no, Python 39, and also I have another, I think I have installed another Python here called Python 27. Okay, so this is what we call the environmental variable. And then also we have what we call the installation dependent default directory. As an example, I can import the system, no, and then I can show you the path of the system, no. So this is the path of my system. So ito yung binabasa ng yung pinakita ko sa inyo kanina na environmental variables. Definitely we can add and modify this list to add our own path if you want, no. So this is very important, no, when you are studying Python. Now, in terms of reloading a module, no, when we try to import a module, kapag nag-i-import tayo, once lang yon, no, during the session. So this makes things more efficient, no. Now suppose we have the following code in a module named my module. For example, we have this module, no. Let's say the module, the file tell us that this code got executed, no. Okay, and let's try to copy this one, and I will write here, save this as my module .py, no. So kakopyahin ko to, and I'm going back to Spider, and I will open a new file, and I will paste this, no. This code got executed, And then I'm going to save it outside, no? Because my notebook is here. I'm going to write here my module.py. And then this time, in my next line, okay, you can see here, nagprint siya, no? Kasi in-execute ko. But this time, I'm going to import my module, no? Okay? Pag in-import natin yan, ayan, this code got executed. Okay? So we can see that our code, this code got executed. Pero pag inulit mo to, kahit ilang beses mo pa siyang ulitin, hindi na yan mag-execute. Kasi once lang, no? You can see now the effect of multiple imports. Kapag once mo na siyang na-import, once lang siya magre-reload. No? Hindi mo na kailangan paulit-ulit mo pa siyang i-import. So ibig sabihin, once lang tayo magi-import, no? Alright? Any question so far? Question po? Question? Meron ba tayong question dyan? Wala po, sir. Sabi niya, wala po. Okay, thank you kung wala namang question. So, let's go back in my notebook. Now, so you can see from here, there is also a more efficient way of doing this, no? Instead of importing your module, we have a function called reload, no? Reload, something like that, no? Yan. Okay, bakit may may problem? Okay. We need to import first imp. Okay? And it's not defined, no? So I imported already the reload. So for example, import imp and then import my module, no? This is my module. So you can see here, nothing to be executed, right? But when we try to use the imp that reload, okay, and then I will reload my module, okay. So what will happen if I try to execute this one? So you can see that this code was once again executed, no? So you can see the path of the execution here, no? And you can also see the path of the file. Okay? Now, I want you to understand also another command, no? And this one is the function to find out the names that are defined inside a module. For example, we have defined a function add here, no? Above, no? This is the function, the add. Saan ba yun? This one, no? This is the function add. Okay? Now, we can use the directory. So, we can use the dir function. This is a built-in function para okay. So how do we use that? Using the directory function, we call now the name of the example, no? Kasi sinave natin to, when we try to call the add function, we try to import the name of the module, which is example, right? So let's try to to see the content of the directory of this one, no? So this is the directory. Okay? So here we can see a sorted list of names, no, along with add, no? So this is the add function that we have created. Itong mga ito yung mga built-in, no? All the other names begin with underscore. These are default Python attributes associated with the module. Now, when we say built-in, they are not user-defined. Okay? For example, itong name na to, 'di ba? So, for example, import example and then example, gamitin natin yung name. Okay? So, what will be the output? The output will be example. Okay? So, document string natin. May document string ba tayo dyan? Let's say, document string natin. Copy natin to. Double underscore doc. Ito yung pinakita ko sa inyo, no? So, yan. Created on Wednesday. Yan. Ito yung document string natin. Kasi ito yung nandun sa Jupyter notebook, Spider notebook natin, no? Created on this one, no? Saan ba yun? Yung example na to. You can see, created on Wednesday, December 16, 1542. Going back to our, ayan, no? 1542. And this is the author, no? This is the name of my laptop, JV Tylar. Okay? So, all the names defined, you can see, for example, in your current namespace can be found using the directory function. So, ito yung ginamit natin dito. Directory function. Okay? Now, finally, okay, this is the final topic. No? Sorry for the, although this one is very helpful to you. Hindi ko siya pwedeng palagpasin. No? We will discuss about Python package. Okay, the Python package. What about the Python package? So you will learn here to divide your code based into a clean, efficient modules, no, using Python packages. And also you will learn how to import and use your own third-party packages in your Python program. So what are packages first? So let's try to define packages, and let's write it here. So actually, we don't usually store all of our files on our computer in the same location. No? Now you can see naman that my files are very messy also. I don't actually put it in same location. No? So we use a well-organized hierarchy or of directories for easier access. No? And then similar files are kept in the same directory. No? For example, we keep the songs in the music directory. No? We keep the videos in the videos directory. Okay? Now, similar to this, Python also has packages for directories and modules for files. Okay? So, for our application program grows larger in size, a lot of modules will be used, no? And then we place similar modules in one package and different modules in different packages. So this makes a program or a project easy to manage and clear to understand. Okay? Now, similarly, as a directory can contain subdirectories and files, a Python package can have sub-packages and modules. No? A directory must contain a file named double underscore init and then double underscore. No? So this is the we call it init and then double underscore dot py. Yan. This directory is written in this file in order for Python to consider it as a package, and this file can be left empty, but we place the initialization code for that package in this file. Okay? So for example, how do we import module from a package? So these are only examples that I will give. I do not guarantee that this will run. For example, we import a game that level .start. Yan. Okay? So, this is an example, no? When we try to run this, of course, this will not be, it says here that there is no module called game, no, in Python, no? So, that means, wala tayong ginawang ganito, na, ano. But if we will create a file that has a game, no, and then it has a level, and then it has a start, definitely it will run properly. Okay? So similarly, if we try to import something, for example, import sk learn that metrics, for example, no, and then that's it, no, sk learn metrics, and then we can import, for example, okay, from sklearn metrics, we can import, for example, confusion matrix. Yan. Nakikita nyo? So this is an example of how we can use the dot here, no? So the dot here that you can see, okay? The dot operator, that is what we call the dot operator. So we can import modules from packages using the dot operator, meaning, just to give you an example, actually, we're accessing this module, and this is a sub-module. Okay? This is a sub-module. Okay? So that's an example on how we can import packages. Because sometimes the packages are for example, the packages are written in levels and sub-level, no? Like yung example na binigay ko kanina, import game, this is the main module, and then, di ba, sub-game may mga level, and then sa start, okay? And then, for example, after that, may level pa. For example, select difficulty, and then you will, for example, right here, number 2 difficulty. Yan. This is an example of a module which contain a function that has, this is the function, this is the function name na nakalagay sa start, and this start ay nakalagay sa level, and this level is located in the module game. Do you understand? Okay. So that's how this method is done in importing our packages, and definitely it looks on yung ginamit ko kanina na sys.path. Asa na nga ba yun? And this one, no? So we can see here some directory. And if you want to evaluate, no, how we did this importation of packages, you can see here the different ways on how we can import the packages. Okay? So this is an example. I did not run this because I know that this will eventually say that there is no module named game. Okay, so that's why I did not run it. All right.